If you haven't yet, I want you to go to jobethevans.com and take the college readiness quiz. There's a quiz there for parents and a quiz there for students. When you take that quiz, you get a detailed explanation of where you're at and actionable steps for you to take to move you beyond where you're at right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Today, I am here with Stacey Piercey, and we are going to be talking about the importance of making money in college as a foundation, but also how we do that through having your own business in college. I think that's something that sounds really scary to a lot of college students because they're starting college, they're finding new friends, probably living in a new city, a lot of new things, and the idea of having a business can add to the scary part of the whole experience. But what is important about this conversation today is that pretty much everybody in the world is on lockdown right now. And we're not going to baseball practice. We're not going to softball. We're not going to potentially prom. We're not going to graduation. We're not going to class. We're not going anywhere. We're home. And so for our seniors, that means that everything that they had anticipated happening in the next 6 months is potentially not going to happen or is going to be postponed, and they're going to be in their homes. So I think that right now is a great time to think future. So I'm going to be in lockdown for the next possibly 2, 3, 4 months. Potentially, we don't know how long it's going to be here in the US at least. And what are we going to do with our time? And what can we do with our time right now to make sure that we are propelled forward at the end of this lockdown? What is it that we can do? And I think the most awesomest thing that we can do is start a business. So, Stacey, I want you to start by introducing yourself, telling us why you're here, why you're relevant, and like what it is that you offer to people that can help these girls so much.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, JoBeth. This is a great opportunity. I have my own business now. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, so we're going to start with that. And I went to university a few times, actually, and found that being an entrepreneur taught me an incredible amount about myself and about how I learned,
Mhm.
and especially about the things that I know that I can do. It sets me up for independence and that belief, that sort of can-do attitude, that self-sufficiency, which I think is a really important skill.
Mhm.
So the business that I've developed over the last 4 years is teaching entrepreneurship to the under 18 crowd. So my website's called Kids to Market, but it's not just for kids, just to be clear. It is an easily consumable program to get you up and running with your own business. So the reason why I chose to start this was because I was noticing I sort of half homeschool, half don't homeschool. I've got half my kids are in school and some of them aren't. And in a community, because of what I do for a living, I was approached to teach some classes about business, oddly enough, or coding, because I'm actually a software engineer. So I decided to sort of teach an analog coding class, and that was fun, but there was no real learning and no real excitement. And I've noticed that a lot about school curriculum, that you go through to learn it. You guys are getting ready to write your sort of end of high school exams, SATs, whatever it is that you need to do to get into college, and you're grinding through the content with no really innate and intrinsic learning that comes with that. So I flipped the teaching program to teach kids how to start a business, and I had everything from as young as 6 all the way up to 17 years old in the class. And everybody got it, and everybody was excited because I started the class with a conversation of who here wants to make some money, and everybody put up their hand. It was actually the older ones, not the younger ones, that went, well, how much money can I make? Well, I don't know. You can make as much as you can imagine making. It's entirely up to you.
Right.
And we get argued with, wait a second, like, what's the upper limit here? There is
Mhm.
no upper limit. You can make whatever you want. And when they took their own interests and their own passions and built a business from that, which is what my course teaches, this isn't a lemonade stand for the 6-year-old, or um, I don't know, shoveling walk or dog walking for the 17-year-old. there's nothing wrong with starting a business like that, but it should be because you love being outside or you love working with dogs that you do it. So when it's based in passion and when we decide from our interests that we come up with a business idea, that whole experience and learning to make yourself extra money starts to gain legs and it runs, and you'll know that it's a good business idea because it goes in that direction. So when I work with teens who are looking to raise money to be able to go with school, it has to be balanced because you have so much on your plate, right? You're dealing with all of the extracurriculars on top of all of your academics. And right now, you might even be transitioning into university. So you're dealing with college applications and everything else that you have to do to get there. And starting a business might seem just an overwhelming task. Like it would be ridiculous. But the course structure is set up in a way to say, make a business plan or don't. I don't actually think that you need one to get out the door. Most people stop their whole process of starting a business because they get bogged down in the minutia,
Mhm.
in the tiny details that say, yeah, you can't do it. There's a business like that out already. There's no way I can market myself. I don't have time. If nobody knows about me, how am I going to make money? And nobody ever gets started. And yet,
Right.
there are some unique businesses specifically to teens that work really well and will make you a little bit of extra cash so that you're not constantly struggling. And the
Mhm.
learning is transformative. You know, there's like how many Bill Gates didn't finish university, Elon Musk didn't finish university, Steve Jobs didn't finish university because they started a business
Right.
all the way through. And it's not that you shouldn't finish your degree or you shouldn't go to university, but there's something that's sort of happening in the background while you do this simultaneously that personally I think everybody should go through. So that's me. That's what I teach.
Yeah, I think that's great. My dad was always a business owner, and then I married a business owner.
Yeah,
So it's something that I've
me too.
always been. It's just the entrepreneur lifestyle is always something that I've seen in front of me, and something that didn't make sense to me at a young age was that um, the idea of trading dollars for hours
Yeah,
never
jobs.
made sense to me.
Yeah,
And here's when it hit me that, like, dollars, like, effort effort does not equal um a certain amount. So it doesn't
yeah,
matter how hard you work. And I first realized this when I was teaching, because teachers in the United States, we teach August through the end of May, and we get 2 weeks off at Christmas. Sometimes we get a full week off at Thanksgiving, and then we get a week off for spring break. We have to be there at 7:30. We got to go home at 3:30. And yes, we did professional development in the summers, and we worked on curriculum and stuff in the summers, but we didn't have to be there working except for during those times, with
right,
the exception of some professional development. So, from what the jobs I had seen my dad work, this teaching stuff was like I had to be there a lot less than what I see my parents working. And my mom's a real estate agent, so she also has her own thing. So
yeah,
where they do not work 9 to 5 jobs, but teaching was very similar to a 9 to 5 job. So I was working this job, and it was easy to me because compared to the work that my dad had me do growing up, working on the farm and working with he had apartment complexes, working in those, like, teaching was easy to me because I wasn't sweating. The place was clean and like everything functioned pretty well. And so it wasn't that hard for me. But I had students whose parents were immigrant workers and made significantly less money than me.
yeah,
And I worked significantly less hours and significantly um, with less effort than they
yeah,
did.
yeah,
And I would be going home when they were pulling another shift, and I was still making more money than them. And I was like, I went through a period of time where I was feeling very it, like, I don't know, a little bit guilty because of my position in life. But I also had that profound realization that, like, I don't have to work extremely hard to make money. And that's kind of a mindset I had grown up with, is that that's how you get money, is you work really hard. But sometimes you can just work really smart and efficiently and make good money. And I think
hmm,
that is what this next generation is looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for a way to travel and see the world. They're looking to make money and live out their passion.
That's right. Make a difference,
Yeah,
right?
they're wanting to make
Yep.
a difference. In
Yeah.
my generation, the millennials, we are like that to an extent, but I think we're going to see this even more with this next generation that's coming into college and through college. That money matters because we have to have money,
Hmm.
but what matters even more is doing what they want every day and living
Yeah.
their purpose. And that is why starting a business in college is so important and holds so much value. But like, how do you do that? And so that's where, I would like for you talk to these parents and these seniors that are listening in on this. Like, if they want to start a business, how do they know what business they want to start?
Yeah.
Where,
That's always
how do you even
tricky.
figure that out?
Yeah. You're starting to come up with a business idea. You're thinking about making money as opposed to um, offering value or change in the world, right? So I think that's you sort of hit the nail on the head with that. The what they're looking for right now is that I believe entrepreneurs change the world. They do, because this is where
Hmm.
innovation is driven. And so when we look at young entrepreneurs and how they get started, and the ones that are really successful are the ones that saw a solution to a problem they personally had and solved that problem, and
Hmm.
it was that solution that the business idea lies. And so that's what I teach in my course. When you start looking at coming up with a business idea, you don't want to start from a place of making the most money you possibly can. When
Right.
that's the motivator behind it, money's a poor motivator. It
Right.
actually doesn't work. There's no move forward from that. You're buying yourself a job is what you're doing. You're spending a whole lot of time and energy just to create that job, that now that you have a job that actually is quite a bit of effort and is very time consuming. And so I think that when it's based in a solution you've already provided, so I go through this exercise with every single person that comes through my program. And by the way, I mentor adult entrepreneurs as well, going
Hmm.
through the same thing. A lot of people right now, especially with the current situation, are out of work.
Hmm.
And so I have been inundated with requests on, I need to immediately start my own business and make money because I was a public servant. I was a teacher. I was a nurse.
Hmm.
I worked in frontline support. I was a small business owner and my shop is closed. That's
Right.
probably the most common one. So
Yes.
they're already entrepreneurs and they're needing to figure out a way to continue to make money now that
Hmm.
they're not able to work. So the cycle, the process, the idea generation is the same. You have an interest or a passion,
Hmm.
and when you were getting good at that passion, if you were, this is something everybody comes to you for. This is something you would spend all day doing if you didn't have to go to school. This is something that if somebody asked you a question about, you would talk all day, nonstop. You could just go deep dive in
Hmm.
it. With little kids, it's Pokemon and Minecraft, and with teens, sometimes it's like, I'm really interested in anime. Like
Hmm.
it's really obscure, and you think, geez, how can you generate a business idea out of that? But it was in the solving frustrations or overcoming obstacles to get really good at that or be very
Hmm.
interested in it. To be an expert at that, you
Right.
had to overcome something to get there. If you were really good at softball, you mentioned softball, right? And
Yeah.
there's a skill set. There's everything to do with the equipment that's needed. There's finding places to play. There's creating teams. All of those things were business ideas based in somebody's passion for softball.
Right.
And so you specifically in your interest will have overcome obstacles. In business, we call these pain points. So wherever that pain point was that you had to overcome, it's the solution you came up with to
Hmm.
overcome that obstacle where the business idea sits. So um, again, an example that I get for lots and lots of teens, I have a lot of artists that come to me and, trying to figure out a way to make money off their art, or how do they sell their art. And they envision, well, like the picture behind me, I'm just going to make prints of it and I'm going to sell it, and
Hmm.
that's how, but then they, you get into imposter syndrome, or I'm not good enough, or I don't want to
Right.
do it. And then they never bother.
Mhm.
And so you expand off of that and where you can go with that business idea to take it online or to use it elsewhere or to make it more functional. And little kids get this right away. Like there was one, she does marbling. She does marbling art, and
Mhm.
she does it a really unique technique that's on the inside of books. Have you seen it? If you
Mm-mm.
open up old books and it's kind of got this sort of marbling
Yeah.
picture. Okay, she's a teen that does that, and then she does it for book companies, right? Like she creates it for book binders.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's a really neat art, but then she wanted to expand it. So she's putting it on things like coasters. She's putting it on other functional objects where the art gets put onto things. And a really common online business that does that is drop shipping. So not a lot of people really know what drop shipping is. Those that do know what drop shipping is make a lot of money doing it.
Okay,
So
explain to us
it's
what drop shipping is.
so that's white labeling. Let me see if I can. It'd be like taking anything that's like kind of plain, like a journal, right,
Mhm.
or a T-shirt or a mug, and you put your art, your design, or your idea on it. But
Yeah.
instead of you holding all the inventory is actually held at Amazon or at other companies like Redbubble or Zazzle or Teespring or TeePublic. There are so many different companies where you translate your art, your idea, your quote, your saying, the
Mhm.
memes you keep creating on Instagram, all of those things can be turned into a product that somebody goes onto these sites and says, I'd like a mug that has a cartoon on it or a meme on it or something on it. They buy it. The website fulfills it for you, prints it on the mug or the t-shirt in the size that the person wants, ships it to them, and then you get a portion of the profits because it was your design that they put on the mug.
That's easy
So
money.
easy money, right? It's not as you don't make as much money as you would if you actually put your art up on Etsy. So
Mhm.
they are only taking 20% per listing or 20 cents per listing, and then I don't know, 2% for payment fulfillment. Like all that
Uh-huh.
gets kind of wrapped in, but you're missing cents on the dollar. You make more
Yeah.
money. And the whole point of these online marketplaces, it's like going to Walmart and having a product on a shelf.
Right.
So I walk around and, you know, I want to look for a coffee shop. I walk down, or a coffee pot, and I walk down the coffee pot aisle, and there's all these different brands. And an online shop is just like that. And that is one of the most typical teen businesses is they're taking their art or their ideas or their funny quotes, and they get into that. And that form of drop shipping is called print on demand. So that's the type of businesses requests that I get from a lot of teens. But the other one is knowledge products. So let's say you were really good at softball
Mhm.
and you had a methodology, like you've got, I don't know, bunting or pitching or whatever it is down to a science. And it's sort of like top 10 tips to get good really fast.
Yeah.
And you create an ebook, you create online videos. And I'm not talking about being a YouTuber or a blogger, and those are definitely business ideas, but
Mhm.
you're relying upon ad revenue to make money, and that requires an incredibly high online presence
Yeah.
for ads to work in your favor financially. I'm actually talking about you selling a product, a knowledge product, something you put into a consumable object
Mhm.
and you sell it.
Yep.
Self-publishing is another version of that. So you create ebooks and you put it up. You need a one-page website that you can send it out, put it on there for $5, and people buy it. You can buy some ads if you want to throw a little bit of money at it through Facebook or
Mhm.
Instagram or through Google Ads. That starts to get even more complicated. Believe it or not, if you've got copy on your page, people will find it if they're looking for it. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different ways you can sell that knowledge product to other people. So this is where I come in, because I'm talking about low cost, low effort, right? It
Mhm.
can't break the bank. If you write your business plan on a napkin, you're not going to a manufacturer to produce your product idea that you have. You have something you want to sell, then the whole structure of learning how to start a business is figuring out who that ideal customer is and hanging out where they are. What if you're making energy gummies? That's a big one for teens. They've got this like really great recipe to make gummy bears that have got electrolytes and collagen, or they're keto friendly, or they're
Oh,
allergy
cool.
free, or yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really big one for teens. They've made something, that they can sell to somebody else. And I had this one teen where these energy gummies were sugar free, but they had a little bit of caffeine in it.
Uh-huh.
And they put up a sandwich board in their hatchback outside of an arena at a hockey tournament, a teen hockey tournament, and just sat there in the back of her car.
Mhm.
And people came and bought the gummies from her because they're coming out in between tournament games,
Uh-huh.
like in and out. She couldn't be in the arena. She didn't have permission to sell there, but
Uh-huh.
she put up her stand pretty close. I think she sold out and made like $600 in 2 hours. So yeah, you start thinking outside the range of normal or possibilities, and it's the I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Right.
I'm not going to put up obstacles. I'm going to
Mhm.
have this attitude that I can come up with a way to make money, and you're going to fail so many times doing this. The failure rate will feel miserable. It's the persistence, that perseverance, the cycle of failure and get back up and try again, that when you reach success on the other end, it's an amazing thing. And you're going to be really, really good in university. You already have those skills in place. You've built this ability to weather the storm, and that anything is possible, and that no
Mhm.
matter what obstacles are in front of you, you can overcome it. So there's other benefits to starting a business other than making money, but I know that the objective is to make extra cash. So
Right, it is. Or if you just started, like if you didn't like necessarily need money in college, and a lot of students don't. Okay, a lot of students, their parents are
yep,
paying for it. A lot of students are there on scholarship, so they don't need the money. But what's a really cool thing is if you don't have the pressure of having to make money. So during that time, you build skills and relationships, and then you potentially have a full time job for yourself when you graduate.
that's
And
exactly it. A network, right? You're building a network for yourself while you're doing this, which is brilliant.
yes. So I think that what drew me to starting my own business in college through Mary Kay was that I played college basketball my first 2 years of college. So was taking anywhere, but I think I took 18 hours each semester um, in college those first 2 years, and we were playing basketball. So basketball in college is like um, a
Time
job.
consuming.
It is
Yeah.
it is a job. And so, yes, you get scholarships, so I got my school paid for, um, but what was so attractive to me was that if I had 5 hours on Thursdays and 0 time on Mondays, like, I didn't have to work on Monday. I could
Yeah,
just
right
do all
on.
my work on Thursday. And so that's something that's still super attractive to me as a business owner is that, like, I make my own schedule. I remember having a conversation with my mom like years ago. I was like, I want to work whenever I want to. I want to make what I want to. And I want, I don't really, I mean, I don't care to be told what to do. That's not a problem. But I do like if I want to take off, I don't have to ask anybody. I just make sure that works for me and is not being a detriment to my company. So, and I think that is so attractive to this generation. And I love that you talked about, giving a few ideas of what people can do, like athletes. So many students are athletes in some form. They may be a cheerleader, football, basketball, softball, volleyball. They may have a specialty like pole vaulting, something like that. And when students have an online, when they have access to the internet, they have access to build whatever it is that they are creating in their minds. Because I'm thinking, because I played basketball, and maybe not basketball so much. I also showed sheep in fairs and stuff. So
Right.
we showed market lanes. That would have been something that, like, basketball, everybody did it. But I showed sheep. Not many people did it. A lot of people thought it was strange. And so it was something that I think a lot of people, if I could have went back and been like, and I was successful at it, and I think that's a point too. Um, if
That's
if you're
right. I
if you're
mean,
not
that's a
good at
value.
it, you don't need to
Yeah,
be teaching somebody else what to do.
that's right.
So,
That's right.
I mean, it wasn't like good, like it wasn't like a state championship show or anything like that. But in my district and in our region, like I was pretty good at it. I knew the technique. I knew how to feed, I knew how to what to look for when picking certain animals, whatever. That is something that would have been successful because not a lot of people are doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's a
And
get started thing, right? So you asked, how do kids get started? How do teens get started in starting their own business? That in of itself is a business. So you know something that
mhm,
you're very, very good at,
mhm,
and you don't need a degree in it in order to be
no,
good at something. Usually when you're passionate about it, you've deep dived into that already and you've read everything about it, you've done it, you've experienced it, you know it, right? It's like the back of your
mhm,
hand. You could do it in your sleep. And the biggest question for other people, there's actually a funnel concept with this when we talk about knowledge products, is that think about it like a V like this. And so everybody who doesn't know anything about showing sheep, right? There's about 10
mhm,
million people like that, and they sit there. Yes. And then there's some people that have been to a show and they've watched it, and they're sitting at about 2 million people in the top of the funnel. And then there's those people that have maybe done it once,
mhm,
or they had a sibling, or a friend who did it, and they're sitting at that 500,000 people are in that part of the funnel. And as we get, you're sitting here, right? Like you're sitting in there's maybe 5 to 10,000 people in the United States that are sitting in your space. And then there's those that are like down here, they're experts, they're winning, they're going to rodeos, like they're going to like full on sales.
right,
They've got it. And they're like that 1% that sits kind
mhm,
of down in the bottom of the funnel. And so, no, you are not the expert that sits down here. You're here, but there are 10 million people up here who are your potential customers. There are all these people who know nothing about it and want to know, how do they get started?
right,
So I mean, you can see it in my own business model. I have a whole bunch of kids and parents of children and teens who go, I don't know how to get them started.
right,
Because once they figure out what that business idea is, when they hear the cycle and the process that I put them through, man, especially teenagers, they run with it, right? They're
yeah,
gone. Especially those that are transitioning, even the 16-year-olds, like those are sitting kind of grade 11,
mhm,
and you feel like an adult. It feels ridiculous that you're still putting up your hand to ask to go to the bathroom.
right,
Like it's just weird the state that you're in, because the Beatles became famous at 16. Like there's
right,
something about the brain development at that age. It feels ridiculous to still be in school when you could be doing
mhm,
so much more, and you're just waiting. You're getting those necessary courses done so that when you get into university, you're not still trying to figure out algebra. I get that.
right,
There's an important aspect of those last 2 years of school and mastery, but you could be doing other things
right,
that build skills that school just isn't teaching you, right?
right,
Those sort of innovative 21st century skills, that's the critical thinking skills. And when it's based in your own passion, your own ideas, the learning just like it shoots off the chart.
yeah,
So
it's
I find
easy,
that 15 to 18-year-old range for starting a business is a very good time, because it's when you're at your most creative in your entire life. You are at your most creative right now. Your brain is actually a completely different structure from mine and JoBeth's brain. Completely
mhm,
different, right? We've moved from gray matter to extreme amounts of white matter in the brain.
mhm,
That's why they take so many risks, because that's
they're
inhibited
learning,
right now. Yeah,
yeah,
they're learning at really, really high speed. So when you go through the idea of starting a business, I had this teen come up with this really cool idea. I won't show you the booklet, but it's a knowledge product, but figured out that it was sort of the parents, not the children, that he wanted to sell the knowledge product to, and it's how to make
mhm,
your own chocolate. So there were brothers, and they built this whole curriculum around teaching kids all about South America and about building chocolate, and included in the kit is a cacao bean pod.
what?
Right. So,
That's great,
yeah, how many people bought this kit solely for the novelty item that differentiated them from any other knowledge product? And it's because they thought this was neat.
right,
When they got one, they went, wow, this was like, their interest peaked, and they
mhm,
built a product and a business around the cool factor of their kit. So I thought that was super creative. Nobody would have thought about first of all, it wouldn't even dawn on me I could access one, to be
Right.
honest. It wouldn't even, like I would
Right.
say, I can't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but when you're at the age that you're at when you're transitioning off to university, you guys are superheroes. You have your brain is a superpower
Mhm.
right now. And tapping into that to start a business is just going to open a world of possibilities before your eyes, right? So it's a neat experience. It's a good thing to try for sure.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for whoever's listening to this is like, "Oh my gosh, I have
I
like
know.
2 months
Get
or 3
started.
months
Tell me
to."
about it. I want to hear all about your really great idea.
Yes. Okay, so from there, tell us, I'm gonna link to it, below the video, but tell us where people can find you and, if they have any questions, how they can get hold of you.
Sure. So the website's called kidstomarket.com with a number two instead of
Mhm.
TO. And I know it looks like it's like for young kids. So JoBeth and I were talking about that, but it'll say right on the top entrepreneurship courses for kids and teens. And there is a self-paced course in there on how to start your own business. I think it's $67 US.
Mhm.
And then there's a mentorship program that's $124 where you get coached by me over an 8-week period. But you know what I can do is I'll create a coupon code that you can put with the link, and I'll
Awesome.
give anybody 50% off either one of those.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that because I know right now, um, in the US, like, money maybe money isn't tight, but there's a
It
scarcity
should be.
mindset right there that people
That's
are a
right.
little worried. But we also have kids who are sitting at home that we're having to invest in some
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate you giving them that discount code. And I appreciate you coming on. This is one of the most exciting conversations I've had in a little while,
That's
just
good.
because it's like I having my own business and watching my dad and my husband have their own businesses don't I mean, I don't want to mislead anybody. It's hard work and it's
Yes.
frustrating and the money can be up and down and there is a lot of negative, but the positive is so awesome and so exciting. And so anybody who's wanting to get started on this journey of entrepreneurship as they're going to college, like, I'm so excited for you and I'm here and Stacey's here and we're here to like help you through this brainstorm ideas and be an encouragement to you, because I just want to stress to anybody who's watching this, like, don't let this time of being quarantined don't let that be a time of sadness and depression. This is a period of time in the world, in history, that will probably never happen again in our lifetime, and you will never have this much downtime in your life again. So like seize the opportunity and
Yeah.
create and be creative and do something that is going to really benefit you when we all get to go back to civilization again. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for having this conversation with me today. It has been so fun, and I think everybody who sees it is going to it's going to be a blessing to them and really uplifting to them as they continue these next few weeks, hopefully, possibly months,
Yes, no
hopefully.
kidding.
And I just want to thank you so much for coming on today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, JoBeth here. I hope you enjoyed this interview. And no matter where you're at in your journey, I hope that you found the tips and tricks and information to be super helpful. If you haven't yet, I want you to go to jobethevans.com and take the college readiness quiz. There's a quiz there for parents and a quiz there for students. When you take that quiz, you get a detailed explanation of where you're at and actionable steps for you to take to move you beyond where you're at right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon.